good.
As handsome as ever. I mean, it's such a pleasure. You are the best-looking person in wine, as you know.
You're too kind, Keith. Really.
I'm too true. So listen, before we get started, anyway, I just want to show what I'm drinking. 2004, San Roca. I just opened it about 5 minutes ago. It is absolutely stunning. Beautifully
Oh,
prepared.
wonderful. That's funny because I'm drinking right now without even knowing that you were drinking San Rocco. I'm actually drinking San Rocco as well, but
Wow.
this is 2015.
Okay.
So we're drinking the same vineyard.
Exactly. Wonderful. Wonderful. So, thank you for joining with me today. If you'd be so kind as to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, your role and responsibility, and why you are here.
Sure. Well, thank you, Keith, for organizing this. This is really a great opportunity for me because I think, especially during these really difficult times, it's great to be able to have the opportunity to get together in this great way. It's very much appreciated. Thanks for doing this. So I work at Azalea. I'm the son. I am the fifth generation. I'm an only child, so no pressure. It's a big responsibility. My dad is the big boss in charge of everything, so I follow him in the vineyard, cellar. I also deal with global markets. So as an only child, I get to do everything. Practically, I'm always running here and there, being winery sales. I never get bored.
And I follow you on Instagram and Facebook, and I see these wonderful trips that you make. A lot of business, but you don't mind having a little fun on the side. So, I mean,
It's a good compromise between the two. So.
So, by the way, what is the origin of the name, Azalea? What's the relevance of that?
So as our family name is Scavino. Azalea was chosen by my great great grandfather because first of all it's a very small vineyard which is right behind me. It's right behind the winery, which in the past was called Azalea. And Azalea was also a very typical small flower, which was like a small daisy, it was a wildflower, and it used to grow in the vineyards, especially in the Langen region. And my great great grandfather really liked it, so that's why he decided to name his entire property Azalea. And as a logo on the labels, we have two peacocks because originally Azalea was just a small rural reality, just like everybody else in Piemonte. So they had a lot of animals, they had cows, horses, chickens, wine back then. We're talking before 1920. Wine back then was just a very small production for the family, for a few friends. They also had a lot of fruit trees, so they used to produce peaches, apples, and with all the other animals, they also had peacocks in the yard just for beauty. The great grandfather really liked them, and so that's why they are on the labels. So that's the history of the labels.
All right, and that was actually the next question I was going to ask. Thank you for jumping. Listen, I just noticed we have Sassy Italy, who said ciao Lorenzo, and also
Yeah,
Rob acknowledge those two guys. We also
ciao.
have Susan Hoffman, who is a huge fan of yours. I mean, she wants to adopt you, I'm sure. Now, so she has a couple of questions that if they're not answered, she will never forgive me. So let's get her questions out of the way initially. As you know, she wrote the book about wine families of Piemonte. So she's very interested, in the history of estates and families associated with those estates. So if you can just talk a little bit about the roots of your family estate, where it's come from to today.
So we have an amazing history. We are a very old family. We've always been in the wine business since the beginning, and we've always been here. Actually, in Castiglione Falletto, we never moved. We have many records of all the past generations. They have always been here in Castiglione Falletto, And back then they were just farmers, like anybody else in the region, in Piemonte. And it was a very different life because Piemonte was such an extremely poor area. Families were very sick, they had children, so they were really starving to death. So it was a great choice back then to decide to stay here and work land. So we're here thanks to our ancestors who decided to work in these Piedmontese hills. My grandfather, great grandfather, and great great grandfather, because I'm the fifth generation. They always had they always had vines. They were having a few, especially my great great grandfather. He had a few rows of vines, and he was making wine for the family, for a few friends. Then little by little, more people started to come into the yard because they wanted to buy wine as it was good. So they were able to increase, to buy more land, and to focus only on the wine making. My great grandfather was one of the very first producers in Barolo who started bottling the wine for the very first time. And back then it was very unusual because wine was sold in bulk. Even Barolo back then was sold in bulk. So it was pretty unusual to use bottles. He started just as an experiment with very few bottles. He had a great success. So little by little, he was able to increase and focus on bottling the entire production. And back then, he was very brave because, as I said, it was something very rare, pretty common, and it was expensive to be able to buy the glass bottles, for instance. So back then, it was really a huge investment. My After that, my grandfather was one of the first ones who started exporting Barolo in the right context to Europe, to the US. But originally, when he was younger, when he was able to sell his wines to Turin or to Milan, it was like exporting wines back then because he had his horse to deliver a couple of cases of wine to Milano or to Torino. It took Europe 3 days to go back and forth. But back then, it was something really big. So things have changed a lot.
Right, right. So, stepping a little into today's environment, in both 18 and 19, I think you present the family wine at Barolo Fest in um, uh, uh, no 17, I think. So one year you presented the 2013, and you presented
Yeah.
it Masserina. So it was the Margheria Vineyard. And then in 2014, you also you did the same presentation, but they paired you guys with Corino and his Rocca dell'Annunziato. And that year was a very difficult year. As a matter of fact, I wrote your words down. You talked. You said it was rainy and humid during the spring, and you did not have high hopes for the vintage. Yet the vintage turned out that through a lot of hard work, you guys provided something that was really pretty good. Tell us a little bit about that. And again, this is um, uh, uh, I'm trying to get Suzanne's questions out of the way quickly. Tell us a little bit about that vintage because it was a very difficult vintage and how you guys rescued quality product from that vintage.
So you were paying attention that day at La Festa. It's always hard to pay attention the day after the gala dinner.
I actually wrote a blog post on that. Actually, yeah.
So 2014, yes, was 2014. It's probably one of the most challenging vintages we've ever had, and that's due to the weather because practically the weather was very starting from the spring was very rainy, very humid. It was also hard to work in the vineyards because the soil was always wet, and in the summer was pretty rainy, humid. The disease control was very fundamental in that vintage, and then also the selection of the grapes through the grain harvest was really That's why we produced less. We had lower yields because of that. We decided to cut a lot more during the grain harvest. So we started in mid July until the end of August. We decided to cut a lot more because the vintage was so cold and rainy that with a lot of clusters, the vines wouldn't be able to ripen the grapes in such a case. So it's always important to reduce the yield a little bit more. We still do that in a normal vintage, of course, and we do that in a different way because we only work with old vines. You know, my father is he's a terrible perfectionist. He only wants to work with older vines. So older vines naturally already have lower yields,
Yeah.
but we still perform the grain harvest anyway. And in 2014, we decided to have a very severe selection. So in some vineyards, especially in the single vineyard Barolo, we produce around 50% of our normal years, which normally are already very low. And also, it was hard to work in the vineyards in 14 because when the vintage starts off so badly, you are maybe you're not willing to work in a specific way anymore because you feel sad and maybe you think, okay, it is going to be a bad vintage, it is going to be a bad harvest, it's possible to recuperate. But my father, being very stubborn and with so much experience, he has already done more than 40 harvests. So he was like, let's do that, let's work harder. We spend more time, more money in the vineyards, and we had amazing results. No one was expecting to have amazing results in 2013.
Yeah.
And also, after tasting the wines after a few years, the 14s have such a freshness, such an approachability. They are so generous on the nose. They are always striking. It's a vintage compared to other because overall it was a colder vintage, but it will having a higher acidity. It will age in a fantastic way. We're sure that in 10 years, in 20 years, we will have incredible surprises with the 14s.
So you recommended that people wait for what 20 years or so before pulling it out to their cellars?
In reality, 2014 is a very approachable vintage, so I really like it now. But it's going to be very surprising for sure to age it much more.
Yeah.
Because compared to warmer vintages, like for instance 2010, everyone is crazy for 2010, but 14 will beat for sure with time.
Yeah. Yeah. So Sassy Italy says that the rumors of 2014's demise were greatly exaggerated. He's agreeing with you in that regard. So now you guys have
And
property.
also, Keith, one thing, always talking about the 2014s. Because of that, because of all the works that we did in the vineyard, with all the efforts, we decided to produce a Barolo Reserva. And this is very unusual. We make the Barolo Reserva not every year, only in the best vintages. And in 2014, we decided to make the Reserva Rico Voghera,
Wow.
which will be released in a few years because we released it after 10 years. And it's going to be very.
Right. Looking forward to that. So now you guys have property both in Castiglione Falletto and Serralunga d'Alba. What are the key differences between those two regions, both in terms of physical environment and the quality of the wines?
They are very different. And of course, our original property is here in Castiglione Falletto. That's where we have the winery, which is the heart of Barolo. But my dad has always loved the Barolos from Serralunga d'Alba as well. So that's why he decided in the early 90s, San Rocco was actually the very first vineyard he was able to buy in Serralunga d'Alba. And because these two communes are very different, and we like to show these differences in our classes. From one side, we have Castiglione, which is extremely fresh and aromatic because the soil is always clayey and calcareous, but has a slightly higher percentage of sand. And the sand gives more aromas and more approachability at the beginning. While in Serralunga d'Alba, we have a lot more clay and marl, this very dry and compact clay, which confers more power and structure to the wine. Typically, Barolos from Serralunga d'Alba are very earthy, very powerful. You really feel those tannins, and also they have more minerality. So it's very, very interesting for us to compare these two villages because they are so different. And in the cellar, and we do that on purpose, we don't have any difference for our single vineyards. We have exactly the same fermentation, vinification, same process. In this way, we can really highlight the differences in the glass. The only difference is due to the terroir soil.
So tell us about those individual holdings, the vineyards you have in both of those areas, and the grapes that you grow within those vineyards.
So we work with quite a few different vineyards. Here in Castiglione Falletto, we have our historical vineyard of the family, which is Ricco Fiasco, and that is where it started. It's really a fantastic heritage for us to have this vineyard. It was replanted for the last time by my grandfather in 1940. So those vines are now 85 years old, and it's always an emotion for us to walk in this vineyard and to work there. It's really in the heart of the Barolo area in Castiglione Falletto, and it's a beautiful position. It's on top of a hill facing the south. It's pretty small. We have 2.5 hectares there, so we make around 6,000 bottles. They are very small. Then in Serralunga d'Alba, we have the Barolo San Rocco, as I mentioned, the one that we're drinking right now. And that's the first one, which came from Serralunga d'Alba, the first vineyard that my father planted there in the early 90s. And always old vines, they are 65 years old. It's always more structured and more mineral compared to Ricco Fiasco. Usually Ricco Fiasco is very much like roses, violets, um, very open aromas. San Rocco is always more like minerals, earthy, it's almost salty. Then always in Serralunga d'Alba we have the Barolo Margheria. Margheria is a fantastic position in the heart of Serralunga, just facing the castle. And the one that you tasted at La Festa del Barolo. It's a pretty big vineyard, and it's almost like an amphitheater. So we have different exposures from full south to southwest, and we also have a difference in altitude because the vineyard is pretty big. So we have also a pretty big variation inside our own plot, which is always very interesting. Then always from Serralunga d'Alba, we have the Bricco Voghera, so the Reserva vineyard. Bricco Voghera, that's our oldest vineyard. Those vines are over 100 years old. They produce nothing. They have two or three clusters each, but their concentration is outstanding. We make 3,000 bottles only the best vintages, so not every year. And all the rest goes into the Barolo cluster because we use the top part for the Reserva, and all the rest is part of the blend of the mix of the. It's also Bricco Voghera is also our deepest vineyard. It's almost vertical, so and it's fully exposed to south. In the summer, it gets so hot. Everyone is always complaining to work there because it's quite a hard job, but that's perfect for the vines.
And to go on vacation, is that
I'm sorry. Okay.
choose to go on vacation?
Exactly. Yes, that's it.
By the way, Suzanne was asking about the porches. She said that something about some sneakiness around the porches. Is there a story there?
Well, ciao, Suzanne. You know all the secrets. Suzanne knows everything. Well, that's about San Rocco.
Yeah.
That's about San Rocco because San Rocco originally, as I said, my father has always loved girls from Serralunga d'Alba. But back then, in the early 90s, it was pretty unusual to buy vineyards outside of your native commune. So my father decided to rent before buying. He decided to rent this vineyard, but at first he didn't tell my grandfather because he was a bit scared to reveal that. But of course they had to farm the vineyard, so every day he was driving out to Serralunga. And after a while, my grandfather was like, "What are you doing in Serralunga every day?" You know, it's not easy to hide a vineyard, so he had to tell him. And at first, my grandfather was pretty disappointed, and also because back then it was still, even renting a vineyard was still a big investment. He was pretty disappointed, pretty mad at him. But after the first vintage, after tasting the first wine, it was so good that my grandfather was extremely satisfied with my dad's decision. So it was pretty, it was an act to buy that vineyard back.
So, do you have any vineyards you're hiding from your father?
I can tell. My father is not on Instagram, but you never know.
Yeah. Come on, tell me, my good. All right. So you,
But but we have a new vineyard which I can tell about. It's actually not a new vineyard because we have been working with this vineyard for 30 years. It's Barolo. It's our new single vineyard Barolo, and 2016 is the first release ever. My father again was able to buy it around 30 years ago, but as he decided to replace all those vines, they were too young for him to be released as a single vineyard. So after been waiting for 30 years, and this with the 2016 vintage this year, we were like, we cannot wait any longer. Let's release it. So finally, it's available, and we're super excited. It's a very very tiny production. It's about a little bit more than 3,000 bottles because we just use the top of this hill. All the rest goes into the Barolo Classico. So very very small production, but we're super excited because it's been really such a wait for 30 years, especially for my dad. That is very very of this wine.
wow. So your dad wanted to wait until the vine got old enough to fit into his horizon as to what is, make doable single vineyard wine.
Exactly, yes. Because he only wants to work with older vines just because they have a different production. They have lower yields, they have smaller clusters, smaller berries, and also there's more concentration, riper tannins, thicker skins, different roots. There's a huge difference. So that's why we use all our youngest vines, which are 20 to 25 years old, for our Langenbiolo, and all the others we start with Barolo Classico and then the single vineyard up to over 100 years old.
So the do those older vines require longer uh, seasons? I mean, do you do you decide to uh, yeah, what is the decisioning process for determining when exactly to pick? Now, to the extent that you're pulling off cropping fruit, you're doing like two green harvests, so you have less grapes on the bunch. So maybe within the season they can attain that type of concentration. But why don't you talk?
Let's say with the older vines, you always have to work in a very different way. Because, for instance, in the Brico Voguera vineyard, in the Reserva vineyard, those vines, which the oldest are 120 years old, they have two or three clusters each. So, of course, in that case, there is no green harvest to be performed. You can just maybe at least you can just make sure that all the clusters are very exposed to the sunlight. So it can happen that you have two clusters which are attached to each other, and you cut one of them because it wouldn't ripen in a perfect way. But other than that, there's no green harvest there because it's like a natural green harvest because of the age of the vines. And they also ripen in a different way because if you have such old vines with very very few clusters, Normally, the ripening is a bit earlier compared to other vineyards, but then there's also the variation of the exposure of the vineyard, the altitude plays a big role. So there's no rule. You always have to change and adapt to the vineyard side and to the vintage, of course.
So canopy management is almost individual vine by vine. I mean, do these vines have names? Very personal.
The canopy management is also very essential, uh, especially in Brico Voguera. I always talk about Brico Voguera. This is one of our highest vineyards. It's on top of a hill, and the wind there blows a lot. So the canopy management is very important. For instance, if you have a lot of wind, you can remove more leaves, or depending always if it's a rainy vintage or sunny, because if it's a very humid vintage, you would remove more leaves in order to avoid the humidity, which causes all the diseases, powdery mildew, downy mildew. Older vines are always stronger. They're more resistant. So you can also manage their leaves in a different way. Usually they're always less subject to diseases or drought, for instance. Um, those old vines can happen that we don't have rain for 2 or 3 months in a row in the summer, and those vines tend to suffer. You see, their leaves are very bright green. Um, Maybe some other vineyards you see younger vines with the same exposure and altitude, but they have leaves which are turning brown, and that's because they are suffering. If the vines suffer, the ripening stops
Yeah.
because
These older vines that dug deep and they're tapping into streams of water that these younger vines not gotten to it yet.
yes, those old vines they go down with their roots for 5 or 6 meters into the soil, even more than that. And down there, the conditions are always very stable. If you have a very dry season or opposite very humid, down there 5 or 6 meters, it's always very stable. That's why huge difference.
So if you can step back and talk a little bit, from a philosophical perspective, um, what kinds of wines are you trying to provide to the market? What's the philosophy in terms of the product that you're delivering to your customer base?
We have always been very traditional. The style has always been very traditional, and I can say through 5 generations, we have always had a very pretty stable style. We want to be able to perceive the terroir in the glass, so it's really essential for us to have very distinctive wines, especially talking about the Barolo single vineyards. As we are spread in 3 different communes, it is essential for us to be able to taste the soil in the glass. That's what we strive for. Nebbiolo is a very elegant grape, even if it's super powerful. It has a lot of tannins and structure, but still, it is very elegant at the same time. So you always have to be careful to damage it with very strong macerations or fermentations with the use of the oak. You always have to be careful. For us, um, if you if you're able to preserve what you make in the vineyards, we work so hard in the vineyards that we want to be able to taste it in the. So it's all about finesse, but with power at the same time, of course, because Nebbiolo has to be powerful, Barolo has to be powerful, tannin is natural and common, but you also have to be elegant at the same time.
And so I've heard you say that that the wine is made in the vineyard. So all the hard work that you guys do in the vineyard, is reflected in the wine that ends up in the glass. Tell me about the viticultural practices that are followed within your vineyard. By the way, is all your fruit estate fruit, or do you guys purchase any fruit at all?
We don't buy any grapes, we vinify our grapes only, and that's very important. Yeah.
All right.
So we know what we bring into the cellar.
So tell me about the vineyard work.
So vineyard work, that's 70% of the work. That's in the vineyards. We're there every single day. My father is always there because he's always supervising everything, and that's the most important part. Especially if you have vineyards spread in different continents, you are always driving here and there to reach all of your sites, and there are pretty interesting variations in our methods depending on the single vineyard, the terroir, the exposure, the soil composition. But in general, we have always worked in this way. So we try to maintain very healthy vines. That is fundamental. As I say, having older vines is already a great help for nature because they are more resistant, as I was mentioning. Timing, especially during the harvest, the decision of the picking date is essential. We want to harvest grapes which are fully ripe without achieving an over ripening, which would be too much. And you don't have to pick too early, otherwise the tannins will be hard, green, not fully ripe. So also the decision of the picking date is very important. And then we work the soil. We always work, as I say, with the canopy management, green harvest in the summer. So we're there every single day nonstop.
The vines are Gaio trained, and they're what on our average 4,500 vines per hectare. Is um, you know, in some environments today, they're much more intense in terms of the spacing of the vines. Are you guys comfortable with that? Do you wish you had more densely trained vines?
So we're pretty, as we have old vineyards, all our vineyards are old. So we are between 4,000 vines up to 4,500 vines per hectare. That is the average, and usually it's something like that for our winery, and we're satisfied with that. I mean, we don't want to change that, also because we don't want to replace entire vineyards. We just replace the vines one by one when they die, so it will be impossible for us to have more vines or fewer vines in each vineyard. So between that range is pretty ideal for us. Yeah.
And how do you replace vines? Process for vine replacement? Because you guys are doing primarily is it massal selection kind of thing?
Yes, we do a master selection because basically we just want to use our own genetic material. So in this way, we make sure that we always have the same materials in the vineyards. So we do a master selection from our best vineyards. Usually, it's either best vines. I mean, usually either come from Franco Fiasco or Cerretta. And when, of course, we don't, it's impossible to grow all the vines because they have to be certified. So we give all the selected materials to the growers, which then produce the baby vines, the little vines, and then we have to dig a hole because we never replace the entire vineyard. It's just one by one individually. So it takes forever because you have to dig the hole. When a vine dies, then you have to remove the old vines. You have to damage the roots, which are coming from the other vines, which are still healthy, and then you have to plant the new one. So it's a pretty long process. It will be much easier to get the entire vineyard, but we don't want to.
Yeah, no, you make great wine. So why kill the goose that laid that's laying the golden egg? What kinds of stressors do you have in the vineyard in terms of diseases and things of that nature, and how were they handled?
The most, I would say, tricky, they have always been powdery mildew and downy mildew, which vary a lot depending on the season, the vintage. We also have, and in that sense, we have always been organic, so we just use Scavino only when strictly necessary. In that case, you always have to spray more often because without using chemicals, you always have to be there every week, especially if it rains a lot. But the vines are much healthier. We have this small insect called tignole, and we have been using this new method for more than 10 years now. It's called sexual confusion. So with these pheromones, we prevent the coupling of these insects. And that's a very useful method because you avoid to use spray chemicals. They work very well, especially if you are pretty big area which is covered. All our vineyards are covered, and I would say most of our neighbors too. So they work there. We use these little wires containing pheromones, which we hang every 3 to 4 miles, depending on the vineyards. We have to replace them every year. So every year you have to walk in 16 hectares and replace all those wires one by hand. So it's pretty a tough job, and they are expensive, but they work very well.
This is a bit off the beaten path, but we had when we had lunch at Barolo Fest. There were not young ladies were there, and so there's a fairly vibrant set of young folks, coming into their own in the vineyards across Barolo. How are they working together? Is it a team effort? How are those interactions framing and shaping the way that winemaking in Barolo is going to move forward?
Um, this is a beautiful region, not only for the uniqueness that we have in the region and the landscape and everything, also for people because we are all very connected. So especially the new generation, my generation, we always it's funny because we always see each other, not so much here, but more all over the world, attending events, wine dinners, or special events. And we always share, we share these events, we share some of our partners. So it's great to work in this way because we'll also share ideas, experiments. Um, I think it's fair competition. It's the friendly competition, which is always very useful.
So, did you think that you guys are more interested than your parents because of all the travel? I mean, the travel you're doing and meeting each other up and socializing some of those events. Are you guys closer as a group than your parents were, or is it just an evolution?
Mm, well, it's hard to say. My parents' generation, I would say when they were younger, from what they say, I think they were very connected, but to other producers, also sharing events. Maybe back then it was more difficult to get together like we do nowadays. Probably they were smaller groups restricted to the area where they belong to. Now we're all connected. Also, social media, I think it's
Yeah.
they're helpful. So we're all connected, but also with I don't know producers from other regions, other countries, which back then was pretty unusual. Now we have friends, winemaker friends, all over the world. So that's pretty funny.
And your social media game is fairly high quality. So I mean, you're probably leading the pack over.
I try to. I try to.
How do you guys determine grapes are right when they're ready to be picked? Is it you're doing like chemical analysis or walking the vineyards and spitting out seeds? What's the
My father likes to stick to the old method. So we just walk in the vineyards, we look at the color of the skins, we take the berries, we look at the color of the seeds, we chew the seeds. So those are the old methods, and then we still do chemical analysis. So we use both, and usually my father is always the one winning. So the old methods always win.
Okay? but you have a set of new methods that you have a spreadsheet that yeah that you're going to see eventually. Does it work?
Um, Actually, it's all about experience rather than practice.
Yeah,
My father always says that. He has so much experience, as I say, more than 40 harvests.
yeah,
He just trusts his taste, his own taste.
yeah,
So just by tasting the berries, he can tell you, okay, tomorrow morning we can pick this vineyard, or we still have to wait for. He can tell you 3 days,
right,
and
right.
it's very hard to say for me because I mean those are very important decisions. There, you really determine the quality of the vintage. If you pick too early or too bit late, so it's very hard, and you have to be very brave to
Yeah, because
to do that.
you can't undo that decision. Once you've picked, you've picked.
Exactly, you cannot go back. That's the thing.
Does your father have like written records of those 40 vintages that he's done, or is it all in here?
Everything is written.
Okay.
Everything is written, and we have records of my grandfather, my great grandfather, great great grandfather. We have everything. Yes, they
Those,
always notes. Yeah, they've always taken notes. Yeah,
those are the family jewels.
yeah.
So, tell me about the winemaking process. How do you guys? And I'm assuming it's well, you said that it was similar, regardless of the vineyard, because you want the character of the vineyard to show through. So you stick to a single process. Tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Yes, for the base wines, so Dolcetto d'Alba, Langhe Nebbiolo, and Barbera d'Alba, we have shorter fermentations and shorter macerations. It's about, I would say, on average, 10 days in order to keep the freshness in roto fermenters and use them in a very delicate way. We never crush the skins too much. We never crush the seeds. So it's a very soft extraction. For all the Barolos, the maceration, we use the standard vertical tanks, and we have a pretty long maceration under capello sommerso, submerged cask, for 55 to 60 days. So that's a pretty long time. That's what our great great grandfathers did in the past. So skin contact for 60 days. You have to have extremely healthy grapes, otherwise you wouldn't be able to keep them.
Are you pumping over or punching down or
So we never do the punching down. We just pump over. Yeah, to make. Excuse me.
time per day?
It always depends on the vintage. So again, in that way, in that sense, there's no rule. We just make sure that because it depends on the thickness of the skins, the picking days, so it varies a lot, and you have to make sure that the skins, the cab, is always humid. So you don't want to, you don't want to have a pretty dry cab. We never do the punching down. We just prefer to keep the skins there without touching them too much. So it's a very very delicate structure, especially because they will be there for days. Temperature control always. So for Barolo, we go higher in order to have a little bit more extraction over 37. And then when the alcoholic fermentation is over, we make sure that the cab, all the skins are in contact with the wine, so we push them down with a stainless steel breeze. We close the vat and we leave it there for days. After the 60 days, we remove the skins, which are pressed, and then ready for the malolactic fermentation.
So the mallow is in the same vehicle, the same vessels as the actual fermentation, the alcoholic fermentation.
No, other tanks. So the fermentation tanks are used just for the fermentation, for the vinification. And then the base wines, Dolcetto, Nebbiolo, Langhe, and Barbera are transferred into other stainless steel tanks for malolactic. while the Barolos, part of them do the malolactic in wood, directly into the barrel, and part of them in the sandstone tanks.
Mhm. So, and what's the idea behind using two different aging paths? Uh,
So, also for the aging for the Barolos, we always try to be pretty. We try to have a pretty similar methods for all the single vineyards. It always highlight the difference of the crew. We have the Barolo Classico, Barolo Margheria, Barolo Cerretta, the Barolo Riserva, which are aged 100% in the big barrels, in the botti, while Bricco Fiasco and San Rocco are 50% in big barrels and 50% in small barrels. There is, for the small barrels, a very small percentage of new oak, always to keep the sharpness. So actually, for all the single vineyards, pretty much the same because the influence of New York is pretty very small. For 2 years up to 3 years, depending on the vintage in barrels. The Barolo Riserva is the only one which stays longer because it's 5 years in the big barrels and 5 years in the before the release, so it's 10 years in total. We have to be passionate with the Riserva.
uh,
Yeah, I like the first two, one on the
Talk a
top.
little bit about the character of the wines,
One is kind
the
of
cru
solid
wines.
and the other one
Give me a
has
sense
some
of
kick on it.
what
I
fish.
like the first two, if you go from top to bottom.
They are very different because of the villages, as we were saying before. So Brico Fiasco is always the most aromatic, the most open on the nose, and very fruit forward. In Brico Fiasco, you can really smell Castiglione
It
Falletto.
looks more
Castiglione
like
Falletto being the
a
heart of
red.
Barolo, it's one of the oldest
This
soils
first
that
two
we
you
have
have
in the
at the top
region,
of the picture.
and it has influences from all the other communes. It's like
Or
a
what I
mix of
can do,
everything.
I'll take a
Gotcha.
picture of
Okay,
the
very
picture and
good.
send it to you.
San Rocco. In
Yeah, I like
2004,
it.
by the way, it was an outstanding vintage. 2004 is considered as one of the best ever, and it's aging in a beautiful.
And then give me
Beautiful.
So,
two black.
good
I
choice.
test to that. Please.
And give me, you have to
Then we have
all
Barolo
the
Margheria, which is always a very mineral, earthy.
all the
We
purple.
feel Serralunga because it's more austere, shyer compared to Brico Fiasco.
Yeah, no, what you gave me, what you
So
gave me
maybe it
is
takes
in
more
those
time to
seven
open up in the
boxes. That
glass,
was the seven pieces I
but
wanted.
it's always more present in the mouth because of the tannin.
No, one black,
San Rocco is
one
probably
white,
the most
everyone
powerful Barolo that we have.
two
The
photo red.
soil there is almost 100%
Black
clay,
is on choose black.
so you really feel the Serralunga tannin, which is extremely earthy. Then we have Cerretta, the new one,
Or you know what?
which I
You
have
want me to
here,
document
by
you?
the
Make
way.
it like
Let me show you the label. Cerretta 16, the new one, which is dedicated to the centenary of our winery because this year the winery was founded in 1920
Oh,
and this year is the 100th anniversary. So that's why also we decided to release. It's an amazing achievement. That's why we decided to dedicate Cerretta after so many, you know, effort and hard work to the centenary. And Cerretta is extremely. It has an energy which no other vineyard has.
Oh, that's fine.
Such
The
a
levels of
freshness
well by the way.
and also approachability, which are very intriguing, especially coming from Serralunga, but something that you wouldn't expect.
yeah, yeah.
And then the Riserva. The Riserva is, of course, the most special that we have, super concentrated.
Here's a smaller
Those
one.
very small clusters produce unique wine. It's darker. It's more like darker fruits, blackberries, blackcurrant, bramble,
Uh,
and at the same time you have the salinity coming from the white clay.
All right. So we have about 8 minutes. The time just flew by. I apologize for going that quickly. Um, but so I want to talk a little bit about your marketing efforts, and so I want to talk about the customer base, the, uh, the customer of your wines today, and what are the initiatives that you guys are embarking on to continue to elevate the visibility of this winery going forward?
So let me say that mm, rather than the visibility, it's important for us to have people understanding our wines and be able to taste the efforts that we perform in the vineyards, and that's very very essential. Also, because talking about visibility, we're a very small winery. We make around 80,000 bottles a year, 16 hectares. So it's true, we are all over the world, so you can find our wines all over the world. But still, it's a tiny.
Mm,
So for visibility, I mean, I try to, because I also deal with both markets. So when I can, I'm always attending events, wine tasting here and there. That's the only thing that we do. And we have a lot of people coming here, of course, from all over the world, tasting and visiting. Uh, but everything comes from what we do here.
yeah. So, but in terms of markets, what's the distribution between the Italian market, let's say, and the international market? And then in the international market, what's the which are the countries that are procuring most of your wines?
I would say around 75% is imported, and the rest is local market, so Italy. And Europe is one of the biggest markets, together with the US. Those are probably our oldest markets. And then, of course, all the others. Yeah, but those are the main ones.
What does the future look like? Any you just announced the espresso, labeling. Um, are there any other things we can forward to that either on the production side, on the marketing side, on the in terms of label initiatives, any future initiatives that we can keep an eye open for?
So Cerreta is pretty much already, such an effort that everything goes into that wine. So it's enough for now. I guess you have to wait for another 30 years for another single vineyard. So, according to our time standards. So, no, Cerreta is now really the big news together with the Centenaire wine grape. Um, During these days, we've had some extra time to think about the future and maybe do things which had always been postponed in the past, like for instance our new website. So you'll see our new website that's going to be online in a very few days with all the information on Cerreta and Centenary. The very important project is now Cerreta. So that's it, and then we'll see for the future. Those are the vineyards that we have now. So there's no secret or hidden vineyard for now. We have other vineyards actually for the which we use for the blend of the Classico, because the Classico is a mix of the Barolo Classico is a mix of 7 different single vineyards. So we could actually produce other single vineyard Barolos, uh, but as they are all pretty small, for now we decide to combine them all together. So maybe who knows, but for now, Cerreta is the new one.
One of Okay, well, thank you so very much, Lorenzo, for taking the time to spend with us. Your knowledge of your estate is without equal, as it should be. sharing with us your history and your present and the quality of the wines and the effort that goes into wine. I thank you very much for the time.
Sure, it's a pleasure. And thank you for all the ones who were here with us. I see so many friends here, so actually you didn't even have time to look at the questions. There's so many. I see right now Marcel is asking, what am I drinking? Let me show you. San Rocco 15.
Yeah,
That's what I was drinking. I am
uh,
drinking.
let's see.
And we have so many.
Let's screen through there.
Someone's
So,
asking, how do we submerge the cab? Eddie? Ah, that's the core.
up, that's smart. Uh,
So
uh,
we submerge the cab. Eddie, we submerge the cab during the maceration, during the alcoholic fermentation, with a very simple, with a stainless steel grid. So when the alcoholic fermentation is over, we place a grid inside the tanks so that we make sure that all the skins go down because you want to have them in contact to the wine. You don't want to expose them to the oxygen. So that's it. Suzanne, I saw you, wine families. She was asking if we use nets, scaled nets. We don't use them. We don't use them just because we've never used them. And who knows, maybe we're thinking about experimenting a bit. And because hail is a pretty big problem here in Barolo. It was more uncommon in the past. Now we get hail storms almost every year, unfortunately. So we're thinking about it. Yeah. The good thing is that hailstorms are always pretty much localized. So for us, having vineyards at different sites, we can always spread the risk. So
uh,
that's it.
so, Instagram dropped the exact score, and I don't want them to be rude to us. So,
Sure.
thank you very much. Thank
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for organizing it. Thank you so much.
you.
Ciao, ciao.